If you've finished the first draft of your manuscript and now you're asking yourself, what's next? Should I try to traditionally publish or should I try self-publishing? If you're asking yourself that question, this is the video for you. Hey there, I'm Amanda. I'm a self-published author and a certified publishing coach. And today we're talking about the difference between the most popular publishing paths. There's traditional publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid publishing. Also, if you are a new author who's looking for author-centric answers to navigating the publishing journey, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Traditional publishing is the path that most of us think of whenever we think about publishing a book. In traditional publishing, you connect with an agent. That agent then gets you in contact with a publisher, and the publisher takes care of the main production of the book itself. In this path, the publisher typically pays for the editing, the cover design, formatting, and some basic marketing. There are both pros and cons to traditional publishing. On the pro side, traditional publishing is still seen by many people as the most credible type of publishing. However, I will note that that is changing as the publishing industry continues to evolve. For many of us, traditional publishing is the dream. We all hope to be picked up by a big-time publisher and have our book distributed around the world. There are also some advantages that come from traditional publishing as far as distribution goes. Many bookstores find it safer to carry books that are traditionally published because they can easily return them. Traditional publishers also often do larger print runs, so there are more copies of your book out into the world. And the other big pro to traditional publishing is that you have a team of professionals behind you and your work. If this is your first time going through the publishing process, that can take a lot of pressure off of us as individual authors. Now, even though traditional publishing may feel like the dream, there are also a lot of cons involved that we need to be aware of. The first most important one is that traditional publishing is a very competitive type of publishing. Many agents get hundreds of manuscript submissions every week, and it's almost impossible for them to go through them all, which means the publishers are also getting hundreds, if not thousands, of manuscript submissions. This means that the competitive environment for traditional publishing is a lot higher, and new authors often have a hard time breaking into this part of the industry. The other thing we have to remember about traditional publishing is because the publisher is paying for a lot of the work up front, that means they get a piece of the royalties, and it's often a pretty big piece. And on that same note, many authors hope that they will get a pay advance for their work from the traditional publisher, but this is very rare for brand new authors, and even sometimes rare for more established authors. Another con for traditional publishing is how long it can take. Getting picked up by a credible agent who can then promote your work to a publisher can take years. Once you do finally get picked up by an agent and a publisher, then you have to be put on that publisher's schedule, and that often takes 2 to 3 years to do. So your time from writing your book to actually getting it published is several years long. And finally, the last downside I want to highlight about traditional publishing is that you lose a lot of creative control. Some authors are fine with this. They don't mind if the publisher takes control of the editing and the rewrites. They don't mind if the publisher decides what the cover looks like and what the marketing is going to look like. But some authors do have a problem with this. So now that we've gone over the pros and cons for traditional publishing, let's talk about self-publishing. In self-publishing, you act as the manager and publisher of the work itself. That doesn't mean that you do all of the details yourself, but it does mean that you are in charge of managing the project. You are in charge of hiring the editors, finding the cover designer, and getting distribution out into the world. Just as with traditional publishing, there are several pros and cons to the self-publishing journey. Let's start with the pros of self-publishing. One of the biggest pros for self-publishing is that you have full creative control over your work. You decide what editing looks like, you decide what the final manuscript looks like. You also decide what the cover looks like and what marketing and distribution are going to look like. The other big pro to self-publishing your own work is higher royalties. Many self-published authors get anywhere from 40% to 70% royalties for their work. That means they get a much higher payout for every single book that they sell. And then finally, the other big pro to self-publishing is a much faster timeline. Instead of waiting years to be picked up by an agent and then a publisher and then to be put on their schedule, You decide on your publishing timeline. That means the same work that could take years to publish with a traditional publisher can be published in 12 to 18 months if you're self-publishing. So not only are you getting higher royalties, but you're getting paid faster. Now, despite my love for self-publishing, there are some cons that we need to talk about. The first most obvious one is the upfront investment. If you're in charge of publishing your own work, that means that you are also in charge of paying for all of the costs that go into publishing that work. That means paying for editing, which usually means multiple rounds of editing. That means paying for formatting and cover design. It also means paying for the launch itself and all marketing involved. Speaking of marketing, that can be another con for some authors. Although I would like to point out, yes, you are going to have to learn marketing essentials in order to promote your book as a self-published author. However, many traditionally published authors also have to learn marketing basics. Traditional publishers will often do basic marketing on brand new books, but it will still fall to the author to understand how marketing works and to really push and promote their work. And then the final con to self-publishing is less wide distribution. Many bookstores are weary about carrying self-published books in their stores because it's much harder for them to return them if the books don't sell, which means they're a greater risk. Now that we've talked about the two main kinds, traditional publishing and self-publishing, let's talk about the third one, hybrid publishing, which is somewhere in the middle. Hybrid publishing refers to a wide range of publishing opportunities. It typically means that some of the responsibility is shared between the author and a traditional or hybrid publisher. Hybrid publishing can be a good option for brand new authors, but there's also a lot of nuance. It's important that we highlight the things to look out for when considering hybrid publishing. First off, let's talk about the pros of hybrid publishing. Number one, you're not doing it all alone. One of the biggest perks of hybrid publishing is that you have support from professionals who know what they're doing. That means you're not navigating the publishing process completely blind. However, it also means that you may be at the mercy of individuals who might not have your best interests at heart. Hybrid publishing also allows the author to maintain the majority of control over the work itself. So you still get to decide what edits get accepted and which ones are rejected. You get to decide on your cover, and you get to decide on your launch process. And as far as royalties and payment, royalties are typically higher with hybrid publishers than with traditional publishers, although not always as high as what self-published authors receive. Now let's talk about the cons of hybrid publishing, because there are some important ones. Number one, fees vary. You're never quite sure until you talk to the publisher how much it's going to cost to publish your book. Hybrid publishers will help pay for part of the publishing process, but they rarely pay for all of it. Because of this, you have to read the contracts with a hybrid publisher very carefully. This is also important because hybrid publishing is a relatively new process, and there is a lot of room for unscrupulous characters to operate in the hybrid publishing industry. Not every hybrid publisher is a scammer, but there are a few out there, and it's important to be careful. If you're thinking about working with a hybrid publisher, make sure you check out the IBPA website. The Independent Book Publishers Association has a list of criteria that you should look for when choosing a hybrid publisher. My final concern for hybrid publishing is that even though you do maintain more control over your work, there are still a few things that they may take control over for you. For instance, one of the things that hybrid publishers will often take control of is distribution. And whereas this may seem like it's helpful to an author, it can also make it more difficult if you decide you want to make changes in the future, either to how you're marketing or to the book itself. So now that we've gone over the three main types of publishing, let's talk about how to choose between them and figure out what is right for you and your book. When trying to decide on your publishing path, there are a few questions that I suggest asking yourself. Number one, how much do you want to spend on publishing your book? If you already have the extra money you need to go through the publishing process yourself, you may not need a traditional publisher to help you with these costs. However, if the financial costs of publishing are a concern for you, you may want to consider traditional or hybrid publishing. Number two, how much time do you want to wait to see your work published? If timing is not a concern for you and you're willing to wait a few years to get your work out there, then traditional publishing may be the right path for you. However, if you want to get your work out there and reach your readers sooner, then self-publishing may be the best option for you. Number three, how comfortable are you with learning the processes of publishing? If you're like me and you really enjoy learning new things, then you may really love self-publishing. I really enjoy learning new things and figuring out processes. That's exciting for me. But someone who is a little less comfortable about learning new things, especially for their brand new work, may want to go with a hybrid or traditional publishing model simply so that they have guides to help them along the way. Question 4. How much control are you willing to relinquish when publishing your work? A traditional publisher is going to take a lot of control away from the author. This is because they're concerned about getting that book to the most people possible and making the most money for the publisher. They're rarely willing to take risks on something new that hasn't been proven. If you're not comfortable handing over the most important decisions of your book to someone else, then independent publishing is probably the best option for you. Number 5, how much work are you willing to put into the marketing and distribution of your book? Most traditional publishers will take on the bulk of distribution and they'll take on some of the marketing. However, if you're like me and you enjoy learning new things, you might actually enjoy the marketing and distribution part of the process. It's a good idea to do some research on what's going to be required and decide where your comfort zone is. The final question I would recommend asking yourself when deciding on a publishing path is, what are your long-term author career goals? If you're planning on only publishing one book, then traditional publishing might be the easiest way to go. They'll handle a lot of the difficult work for you, and you will have a book out there that you get to be proud of. However, if you plan on making a career from writing and publishing books, then I do recommend taking the time to learn more about the publishing process. No matter which path you choose, learning more about the publishing process is going to benefit your career path in the long term. So I hope we've cleared up the differences in the 3 main publishing paths: traditional publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid publishing. Let me know in the comments below which publishing path you're leaning towards. Also, if self-publishing is something that you're considering, make sure you download my free self-publishing checklist in the show notes below. Thank you for joining me today, authors, and happy writing!